Hello everybody and welcome back to another Piano for Guitarists video. This lesson is going to be focused on looking at chords in the key of C major, primarily focusing on our primary triads, our 1, 4 and 5, our major triads C, F and G, and the inversions of those. So if you've been following this series and enjoying it, please do hit that like and subscribe button. You can also head on over to my Patreon page, link in the description, if you want even more content like this, guided practice videos, plenty of guitar videos, hundreds of transcriptions and a whole bunch of other things. Now, we're also talking about chords today, and this is an accidental synchronization. My latest book, it is a guitar book, of course, is available now, and it is a chord-based book. So a lot of the theory I'm talking about today, if you want to delve real deep into chord construction theory, that's definitely the place for you to head. So, as I say, in this particular lesson, we are building on the skills that we've already looked at. At this stage, you should know the key of C major. Any of those white keys is our key of C major. So all of the chords that we're looking at today will only use notes that are found using those white keys. The first chord we need to look at, of course, in the key of C would be a C major chord. Now, if we think chord construction, a C major chord or a major chord in general is the first, third and fifth notes of a scale. First, third and fifth notes of a scale. So if we look at our C major scale, the first note of that scale is C. The third note, we skip D and we go to E. The fifth note, skip F, go to G, C, E, G, gives us our C major triad. Now, just briefly talking fingerings for this, I'm using thumb, middle, pinky. Now, this is the primary way we would finger this particular triad voicing. You sometimes might play 1, 2 and 4. You might even see some people play 1, 2 and 3. They are valid, but our primary relaxed hand position for that chord is going to be 1, 3 and 5. Thumb, middle, pinky. And that can essentially lock in place. So I can make that motion, take my hand away, lock in place, and I'm going to get that triad sound. So I really want to know what that feels like, because at its core, this is a root position major triad on the white keys. So when we look at that, this is sure, it's the 1, the 3 and the 5 of our scale. But another way we could look at that, if you think in terms of tertiary and harmony, is that we've started on a note and we've played a note, a third higher. Or you could say we've played a note, we've skipped a note and played a note. We've skipped a note and played a note. If we do that on F, we'll find the same thing. F, skip G, play A, skip B, play C, that same major triad, F. Now it feels the same to go between those like that, because my hand again is just locked in place going between those two chords. So very easy motion, very easy motion. And if you wanted to warm yourself up, you might play that. You could maybe put your left hand in. That's me just putting C and F. I'm just matching the chords that I'm playing. We'll look at some slightly more complicated things just shortly, but at its core, that's a great way to get started with this, feeling what it's like to lock in. Now, moving from our F to our G, again, it's just moving that up. So this is our root position triad. That's what that feels like. Now, if we took a chord progression, maybe we play C, go into F, we'll go G, F, back to C. We could practice that. Again. You could put the left hand in. If you want to make it a little bit more difficult, you could put an octave in the left hand. We could go. Lots of ways that you could practice that to create a little bit of an independence challenge for yourself. But the primary focus, can we play that triad? Now, once we know that, we have to address how that sounds. And to my ears, that sounds like we're being dragged around by chords. What I mean by that is it doesn't sound very pleasant on the ears. If I had to go between C and G to go, they don't sound nice, right? And even though they're very closely related chords, it's not a pleasing sound because we need to get to grips with our inversions and the way we're going to voice those on the piano. So very easy for us to do this. The way I want you to think about this is I want you to always find your root note. So if I find my C root note and I play it with my thumb, I'm always going to play that triad like this. So I play the first note and then I have a note a third higher and a note a fifth higher than the root note. So we've got that fifth filling in that major third, okay? But if I were to play that C root note with a finger other than my thumb, like jump up to this C and I'm using my middle finger there, well, I know that the next note above this should be that third. I just can't get high enough to add this note in. So I'm using my thumb to play it below the C. So I'm still playing C, E, and G. C, E, G. I'm just voicing it in what's called a first inversion. Sorry, second inversion. My second inversion, C over G. I guess technically first inversion when I play an E in the bass. Let's put a G in the bass. So this is our second inversion C major chord. So root position, make a drop down. Now fingering wise, exactly the same fingers. Thumb, middle, pinky. Now I draw that to your attention because if I'm playing C and I want to go to an F, well, I don't need to move my whole hand because I can see that there's an F here. Same principle. Take my root note, put the third above it, just playing a note in the scale, skipping a note, playing a note, and adding that fourth underneath. C goes to F. C goes to F. So that's our second inversion triad. But we could do the same idea, but having the root note not played in the middle of the voicing. Like this, we can see the C is in the middle of the chord. And this C was on the bottom of the chord. We could also play C on the top of the chord. So if I play that C with my pinky finger, same idea. I'm going to have to put a G underneath and then an E underneath that. So now we're going to use 1, 2, 5, fingering wise. Thumb, index, pinky. So there's our C. And we could move through these inversions. Or I guess. And that's a great thing to practice. My pedal. Because feeling the relationship between those chord voicings is going to be very, very beneficial for you. In fact, I want to give you a little melodic exercise that I would do to get that feeling and to get the fingerings down. Is I'm going to play the middle note, move up, and then come down. It's a little arpeggio, right? And we do the same for our next C major triad inversion. It's a nice little dexterity exercise. We can do it on the top. Again. Really nice way to feel the relationships between those things. physically on your keyboard. And of course we could jump all the way up, and we could bring this just down the keyboard as a way of really starting to see the relationships between those triads and how they interlock with each other, or those inversions, I should say, how they interlock with each other. Now, once you've done that on C, I want you to do the same thing on F. Now, it's going to feel exactly the same because the relationships between the keys are the same. F, F. And you're trying, I think, to look up as you're doing these, not have to look down. You can stare at the keyboard, but there's more benefit. See, I got that slightly wrong. To really know the relationships between these things. Because when you're playing, you're going to not be able to always look at both your hands at the same time. I was going to say sometimes, often they're going to need to be looking at other things. The hands, you want them to take care of themselves. We do the same on the G. See, slightly make that movement incorrectly. There. Better. We could go. See, if I look, I make less mistakes. I was going to say I make less mistakes than I made as many mistakes. So those are our major inversions. Now, the beauty of this, and the thing you really want to then move into practicing, is putting your hand down and playing C, and then being able to look at what you're doing and go, well, how can I voice lead this to F? And well, we've already done that. Now to go to G, how can I do that? Well, I'm going to see this G here. I'm going to put my pinky on it, form my triad underneath, and this gives me my G. So C, F, G, back to C. The bass notes under it. Now, how much more musical is that? Oops. Back to the old way. It's not nice, right? New way. Now once you can do that here, you just want to move it to the next position. So C here. If this is C, this is F. If this is F, this is G. And then we're back to C. Again, I could put my bass notes under this. So C, F, G, F, C. Oops. Once you can do it there, we do the same thing, but here. If this is C, this is F, this is G, and this is C. C, F, G, C. It's a really nice way of practicing getting comfortable with the relationships between these triads, because once we know these fingerings and you don't make any hesitations of what they feel like on the piano, you're going to start to learn as you move through keys that there's not all that much to learn in terms of physical fingerings for major and minor triads. When you think about it, we've done we've done 3 of 12 major triads there. So what's that? It's a quarter of our possible major triads covered already. And we've also done it in all our inversions. So we're learning a lot, but it's now down to you to put the time in for the muscle memory and to develop those in a way that they are completely automatic. So work through those chords for me. Because next week, or 2 weeks from now, we are going to come back with a much harder chromatic variant on this as a concept that's going to introduce the idea of just how many fingerings, or just how few fingerings, I guess would be the better way of putting it, that we're actually going to have to tackle. So get to work, and I'll see you there. And